Hi guys, Rob at Optimal Bodies, sponsored by Damn Fitness, so please check them out at damnfitness.com and quote Rob10 for 10% off. Some good gym clothing going there. Okay, most of my videos about nutrition, diet, performance, getting lean, building muscle, all them sort of lines. And I do incorporate a lot of health things as a caveat onto things that I recommend, as usually it goes hand in hand. If you're losing body fat, you're gaining muscle, you get a lot of health benefits. Now, as I recommend a high fat, low carbohydrate, moderate protein diet, so mainly the high fat and low carb part of the diet, I get a lot of people asking me health benefits from that or health risks. Am I at risk of a heart attack, that sort of thing? Should I be eating all this fat? I can't fathom it. I've been told, and I've been told myself, people get told and taught that high fat food is bad. We need to avoid it. We avoid red meat. You hear things like that, too much cholesterol in eggs. And for some reason, it's been implanted in our brains that that's a bad thing. And it's very understandable. I was along the same lines, and I've been inspired to make this video because I've done a lot more research into the subject. I knew from a while back that it was really good, but then I looked into it even more and I found even more health benefits, which I think the population need to be aware of. As people get older, they might look back and think, oh, I wish I'd have done that. Like, we've been told the opposite. I've been doing a high carb, low fat diet all my life, and now I've been told that that's bad. So we're here to set the record straight. It'll probably change in 10 years' time, but hopefully not. And it's mainly about why fat is good and why it's really essential. But please take it in context that you need to be on lower carbohydrates when the fat is high. Fat and carbs high at the same time, that can cause problems. So it's all about health. I'm going to try to cover it. There's a lot of performance and aesthetic reasons as well. I've got my trusty notes because there's so much on this subject, so it might be quite a long video. I'll see how it pans out, but I want to really put this to bed and let everyone know the benefits and the health benefits, not only performance and aesthetics, of going on a high fat diet and a low carbohydrate. It's just amazing, and it all stems from the way we've evolved. We have evolved our diet and our nutrition. Our body has adapted to eating mainly animal meats, which, if you look at the back of the nutrition profile of a lot of foods, so even like you get some sausages, bacon, beef, it's protein and fat ratio is very, very similar. So you might get 20 gram of fat per 100 gram, and then in the protein it might say around 21, 22 or even 20 same per 100 grams. So it seems to me too much of a coincidence that a lot of foods that we've adapted to eat, and same with like eggs and cheeses, the fat and protein ratio is quite similar. So protein and fat is supposed to be eaten together. And while I'm on that subject, about 50%, I think it's over 50 for the fat, but basically about half and half of your muscle cells, it's not just protein that they're made of. Half of it is actually made from fat, and just over half when they actually broke down an actual muscle cell. So yes, you eat high protein diet to build muscle, but you also need high fat or even over the other half of the spectrum to build muscle. So protein and fat go together, and it makes sense. Like you need to eat whole eggs, you get the protein and fat. Don't cut your fat off beef or the meat, because you need both to build muscle. So that's aesthetic reasons, and that's a good reason for me to do it. I like that side of it, and I've only just found out that information. It's really interesting, and it just sums a lot of stuff up. So we've been evolved to eat fat, and that should be a staple part of our diet. For some reason, the research has been misinterpreted, or the people who are doing the research have put the data out there in a way that makes it look like high fat diets are bad for you. But there's so many counteracting research, and for some reason people are still on this low fat bandwagon, but it's not the case. So just a little bit of physiology. The high fat diet is often called a ketogenic diet, which means your body's producing ketones to fuel your cells and your nervous system. It's very healthy. Unless you're a type 1 diabetic, you don't need to worry about possible ketoacidosis from too many ketones. Your body detects this amount of ketones, insulin gets raised, and it shuttles ketones into cells, so ketones don't get too high in the bloodstream. So if your pancreas is working fine, you don't have an autoimmune disease like type 1 diabetics, you don't need to worry about ketones. They're very, very healthy. They're the preferred fuel for your diaphragm, which is your main breathing muscle, your cardiac muscle, your heart, and also your nervous system. So you're very efficient. So a lot of benefits of going on a high carb diet. People get really good cognitive function. So they're very clear, they're sharp, they've got good endurance when they go in the gym. They've got all this energy. It's like, oh, I haven't eaten carbs for days, but I've got so much energy. My muscles are growing. half of your muscle is fat. There you go. So, every cell in your body has a cell membrane around it, and that is made from fat. So for a start, you need to eat fat because it's what we're made of. 70% of, I believe it's your liver that is made from fat, and majority of your brain is all fat. It's just fat and water. So if you're not eating fat, your cells are constantly turning over. You need to refuel them to optimize the cells. Now, with the cell membranes, they allow nutrients, hormones into the cell that stop bad things, bacteria and viruses getting into the cell, and they fuel the immune system if they do get into the cell. It's just so complicated, but it does make sense because fat is everywhere in the body. It needs to be fueled. So cells can run optimally, and all the essential functions can occur. So I think you need around 10 pounds of fat eaten over a certain amount of weeks for your liver to be fully functioning, because your liver, all your cells, including your liver, is constantly turning over. So you get a new liver every so many months, years, that sort of thing. So you need to be putting them back in. Otherwise, you're going to be running suboptimally, and that's why we feel tired. We can't extract energy from food, that sort of thing. Okay, this is a big one. Ketogenic diets are proven to heal cancer. I know it sounds like a bit something you just can't fathom, but they get a lot of cancer patients. If it's not too late end stages, they get them on a ketogenic diet, drop the carbs right down, and they even put them on fasting 3 days before the chemotherapy, and it's proven to either heal it or you get better results from the chemotherapy. So, and I think the main reason behind this is because you're taking away the carbohydrates. Carbs burnt all day, every day, produce a lot of free radicals, so that's a dangerous end product. Small amounts are okay, naturally occur, but large amounts can cause damage to the cells, and that is how a cancerous cell occurs in the body. It becomes a mutation. The cell can't get back to its normal state, so it becomes cancerous, and then it spreads around the body. It can metastasize along those sort of lines. So by cutting the carbs, you prevent all this free radical buildup, and then you put the fat in, and that's just like adding gasoline onto the fire. It just starts this great amount of protection because the ketones can fuel the healing. Cancer cells cannot live off fat and ketones. They can only multiply and keep themselves alive off fermentation, and that is fueled by sugar, your carbs. So you cut them out, you starve the cancer cells, they're going to die off, and ketones are helping. So if that's not a good enough reason to go on a high fat diet, I don't know what is. So take that into account. I might be yabbering on a bit, but I really want to hammer this home, and people shouldn't be scared of the fat. That's why I've got my notes. There's so much to talk about. Okay, and for the similar reasons, you get reversal in type 2 diabetes because your pancreas isn't constantly pumping out insulin. Your cells become sensitive to them again, so they're not insulin resistant, which is diabetes type 2. So that's basically because you're going low carb, but also because the ketones can fuel cell recovery. So your beta cells that produce the insulin in your pancreas, they can recover. You get better insulin. Your cells that take in the insulin that should be receptive to it, should be sensitive to it, they can recover. It just makes sense. Your body's running optimally, everything can recover, and you're not causing all this oxidative stress from eating carbohydrates, which is the main problem. So, and a good one, a lot of heart attacks because of, you might have heard of bad cholesterol, LDL build-up, but there's also good cholesterol, which is HDL, and that is directly proportionate to the amount of saturated fat you are eating in your diet. High saturated fat equals high HDL, which is good cholesterol, and there's also a good version of the LDL, which people get the cholesterol measured, they get told that LDL is high, which is bad, but which one is it? There's a good and a bad LDL, so it's don't take it to heart, literally like what you're given for the cholesterol results. But what you can do is, if you're on a low carb, high fat diet, this reduces your LDL, which is basically how your plaque forms up in your arteries. So that can either be freed off and cause a stroke, or it gets freed off and blocks the heart. You get a myocardial infarction, you get a heart attack. So high fat diet is protective against heart attacks. Another great reason, because it's a big cause of death in the country and around the world. So how can you put all this information together? So many benefits. Basically, go low carb, put the fats up. You need to do both. You can't have them both high at the same time, as I've said. And there's also different types of fats. So that basically, this is basically been talking about saturated fats, but you also need omega-3 fats, which are anti-inflammatory, also help the cell membranes, they make them more permeable. So the saturated fats help keep your cell membranes nice and rigid in a way, that stop them from collapsing in, but the omega-3 forms like a permeable layer outside of the fat of the cells and allow nutrients in and out of the cell, which is good for hormones. Anabolic hormones, gets testosterone into the cell, insulin in and out. Everything can occur really nice and smoothly. So you need a good balance of both. So I recommend, as I said, 70% fat, 30% protein. So this is a 1-to-1 ratio in grams of fat to protein, which I said you might get, most foods have, that you should be eating, that occur naturally in nature, have this natural ratio already. So you don't really need to count if you don't want to be too obsessed with it or too stressed, but it does actually help counting for some people, including myself. So start with 1 gram per pound of lean body weight for your protein. So I've done other videos on how to work that out. So say it comes out with, you need 100 gram of protein a day. You need 100 gram of fat. Gram to gram, it's so easy, that's how you match it. Divide that amongst 2 to 4 meals a day, depending on your schedule. Recommend skipping breakfast, but that's a different video. Also, it's really good for satiety. Honestly, on a high-fat diet, you'll be so shocked. Most of my clients say, oh my God, I'm not hungry. I've only eaten 1 meal today, and usually I'm eating 5. I'm not hungry. Is this a problem? No, if your body, unless you're getting some sort of physical problem or your medical problem due to that involved in the hunger, then yeah, go see your GP. But if you're feeling great and you haven't eaten and you're not even hungry, your body is very satisfied with what you've fed it. So it's not telling you to eat more. It's got the fat extracted from what you've eaten. Its cells can recover. It's got the energy to put you through your day. You can even do intense workouts on that. So don't worry. And it's a really good side effect. And you also get lean, which is also a really good side effect. So you will notice a drop in body weight once the carbs come out, which is very normal. So omega-3, that needs to go in as well. Around 5 grams, you need to make sure it's got a good EPA and DHA, that's the one, of omega-3s, which you can get in some really good fish oil. So check for that amount. Avoid things like the flaxseed oil, which is shown in the research that doesn't really increase your omega-3 because it has to be converted first. We eat so much fat in our diet anyway that they're competitive for the same enzymes. So it's basically around that sort of thing. So basically, if you eat in its purest form, your body doesn't have to use enzymes to break it down, which it might not have, depending on the individual. It's hard to judge. So you can just go for that. Okay, so I hope you found this very interesting. I hope I haven't yabbered on too much, but it is a very complex topic, but you can really simplify it and just don't eat carbs, eat protein and fat. Any questions, which there probably will be, I probably miss loads out that I'll probably talk about in the future, but any question, please post below or send me a private message if you're worried. But just know that the research is pointing in the right direction of high fat. It's very healthy, doesn't clog your eyes, it does the opposite, keeps you sharp, improves your focus, and it also makes you younger because you've got cells in your skin also. So you see a lot of people on a high fat diet, they look about 10-15 years younger than they actually are if they've been doing it properly. So if that's not a good enough reason, I don't know what is. Thanks guys, cheers for listening. Sorry if I bored you, but high fat, don't fear the fat. Cheers.